You had mentioned on the survey that you became registered as a Democrat 4 years ago, but that you had never voted for a non-Democrat for your voting history. So I guess the question is why, if you were only voting for Democrats for all those decades, why become a Democrat 4 years ago?
What happened was, at one time, I changed my registration to Libertarian. Let me explain why. I think the two biggest problems facing us, not the two biggest problems, let's say two major problems that face us here in the United States have to do with, we have bad policies having to do, one, with our thirst for oil, and that had nothing to do with that. And we have, look at what we've done in terms of our foreign relations to Arabic countries because they have oil, and Venezuela and other South American countries because they have oil. It's really distorted the picture. Back in 1972, we had gas lines, and people had to, you could only get gas if you had an odd number one day on your license, last number, and then another day you could get it if you had an even number. And so we should have had an energy policy long before now. The other thing that has always really bothered me is the fact that we never have had any kind of drug policy that made any kind of sense whatsoever. More than half the people who are in jail in the United States are in jail for drugs. Do you know what drug they're principally in jail for? Marijuana. It's absurd. And the Libertarians, weirdly, were the only party talking about doing something about drug reform. You would think the Democrats would do it because the Democrats are supposed to be about, we're going to leave your personal life alone. We might want to regulate business, but we're going to leave your personal life alone. We're going to have choice. Women have choice. And then the Republicans are all about, we're going to leave business alone. We're going to let businesses do whatever they want. We don't want them to be regulated, but we're going to get really deeply into your lives and tell you. So you say, who's going to take care of that issue? And the Libertarians were talking about it, and because it was such a close issue to me, not because I want to use drugs, but because it had such a terrible effect on our society. So many young people, and then examine what segment of our society did it have the worst impact on. Think about it. Here in this city, what particular area does it have the worst impact on? The Bayview. And the idea that they have drive-by shootings and some child can be sitting in their house and somebody's going to drive by and they're going to get hit by a bullet when they've done nothing. And the idea that we haven't said, wait a minute, there's something wrong with our drug laws. There's something wrong here in the United States. We have to do something about that. If that were going on in Pacific Heights, we would have done something about it. And so my reason for wanting to be a Libertarian had nothing to do with wanting to be a Libertarian. It had to do with wanting to call attention to the fact that we had a terrible drug policy. But the first, I'm going to show how old I am. The first election ever.
This will be the last.
All right, the first election I ever worked on was, your grandparents probably worked on the same one, JFK's. Democrat.